John, the biggest story in football, in English football at the moment, is the apparent demise of Manchester United. They're 10th in the Premier League. They have actually had an easy start to the season. Only Tottenham, among the big clubs, have played them and beaten them 3-0 at Old Trafford. Things are, everyone agrees, looking bad for Mourinho and Pogba. Now, John, you've managed and played at the highest level, and the big thing, I saw Jamie Carragher on Sky last night. He said he's undoubtedly lost his players. He's lost the dressing room, is the cliche for it. And Carragher was making the point, that when he's slagging off players, not just Pogba but others as well, players see this. And what Carragher maintained was the same thing happened at Real Madrid with Ramos and the senior players there. The same thing happened at Chelsea with Hazard when he went virtually on strike. It looks like it's happened again. This phrase, losing the dressing room, they lost 3-1 at West Ham, but it wasn't just the 3-1, it was the nature of it.
Well, there's no doubt, Eamon. I mean, it is. You can't see him getting out of this one. I think once he gets into trouble, it's big trouble.
Yeah.
Eamon. And you have to go back, in my opinion, on his character. Now, I don't know him very well. You don't know him. I'm only guessing and seeing it from a distance.
Yes.
Now, when things are going well, he's great, right? But I don't think he's a mature individual, Eamon, or a confident individual. I think when things start to go a little bit wrong, he gets on to everybody. It's not his fault. Nothing is his fault.
Yes.
And if you go back on the history of him, like when he went to Chelsea first, he got off to a good start with John Terry and these guys. And I think when he's doing that, he's great. But when he falls out, then like take the Pogba thing, which is the most recent. Pogba wasn't doing his stuff. And I think Mourinho is a good football man. I think he knows his stuff. He knows what he wants. As a manager, he knows what he wants, and he wants to dominate. But how to do it? Now, when you go back to the Pogba situation, it's a perfect example of how he manages. He did say at the start, Pogba was the complete midfield player.
Yes.
It turned out he wasn't, and then it started actually costing him results. Pogba's bad play. So now, I think if it had been Ferguson, he'd have pulled Pogba to one side in the Monday in the office and had it out with him.
Yeah.
Mourinho can't do that. He had to humiliate Pogba.
Yeah.
Which he did. He took him off against Spurs, had around him on the touchline, left him in this week.
Said he never captained the club again, having given him the captaincy.
Having given it to him, all that stuff. But that's recent stuff. But if you go back to the start of it, when he took him off against Spurs, then he didn't play him, then he dropped him, and his attitude was, this is his fault.
Yes.
Nothing to do with me. I'm the manager. I know what I want, but this guy is not doing it. And therefore, other players weren't doing it. This fella's not doing it. That fella's not. Then he turns on Woodward, right?
Yes.
Makes an enemy of Woodward because he didn't get the players that he wanted.
The chief executive.
Right, chief exec, having spent like 300 million or over 300 million on the players that he did want.
Yes.
So all that, but that couldn't be his fault. Now we come to this season, and Pogba then has a good World Cup by most people's standards. Had a very, very good World Cup.
Yeah, playing in the winning team is pretty good.
And he played in the winning team in that. So that,
and making a major contribution, would you say, in the final,
in the semi-final, which was West. So now it's like, I thought Mourinho was absolutely right when somebody said to him, "Well, what about Pogba?" And he the comment, or the similar words to the comment, was that he knows what he did.
Yes.
To play well.
Yeah.
So that went down as well. He hasn't given him any credit, but I think he was absolutely right in what he said. Most of the things that he does are right. It's the way in which he does them, Eamon. He falls out with players.
Yeah. I mean,
like in Ferguson's time, Ferguson fell out with a lot of players, but we didn't know about it. He gave him the hairdryer, but it happened in the dressing room, everything happened. In Mourinho's case, everything is out in the open. And it's obviously the players, Tottenham, Hazard at Liverpool, and all the players, at Chelsea, all the players you mentioned. That's the way he works, because ultimately, I don't think he's a secure guy, Eamon. So therefore, nothing is his fault.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I think one of the things that enraged him in Spain was that in Barcelona he's known he calls himself the special one. In Barcelona, they call him the interpreter, because the first job he had in football was as interpreter for Bobby Robson when Bobby Robson was managing, coaching rather, at Barcelona. And that insecurity comes perhaps from never having been a player. But one of the things he does well, and has done well, should we say, he can go in with Inter Milan, with Chelsea, and ultimately even with Madrid. They won the league, you know, and they just got on top of Barca for a while at the end. He can manage experienced players, and guys like Lampard, Terry and Drogba are made. So you have a ready-made situation. You go in and you get the best out of those guys. At Manchester, he's got quite a lot of young players. Martial, Rashford in particular, it seems to me, is a particularly promising player. I think he could be a top player. Even when he came on against West Ham, he scored a delightful goal, really. But he hasn't been able to manage Rashford at all. So he had De Bruyne at Chelsea. He had Mo Salah at Chelsea. But when there's work to be done on players like that, or in giving them confidence, putting them into the team, say Raheem Sterling, that Guardiola's been so patient with. You couldn't imagine Mourinho having the patience to give those players confidence, give them game time, and therefore the Manchester thing was never going to work, because there aren't young players there. Lingard, Pogba,
but although you say that about Chelsea, he was winning trophies at Chelsea. He was winning the league when he was doing that. But he's winning with experienced players. Yes, but that's the way he works. That's what I'm we're saying the same thing. But he had experienced players there. He doesn't wait for them. He's a 3-year man, as everybody says. But he gets it done straight away. You know, I mean, what he's done at Chelsea and other clubs has been fantastic. Yes. Because he's like, I say now, he's sort of a bit of an old-fashioned manager now, in that I'll bully them. Yeah, but you can't do that. But this is what, again... Well, I don't think you could ever do it. To be fair to Ferguson had the hairdryer thing, Eamon. But we never knew what happened outside the dressing room. No. He never humiliated a player, Ferguson, publicly. Until he was ready to get rid of them. Well, then they were gone. Right? Like in Mourinho's case, he humiliates them and they're still there. So I don't think he can manage things when everything is going well, but I think he has this immature way that when he falls out with some Hazard, for example, with the doctor and thing. I mean, that was crazy stuff. Yeah. Now, I think his firm belief is right in that the manager has to be in control, but it's keeping control and doing it in the right way. I think at the moment, like most of me, lost the dressing room. I think he's lost the players because of the way he's behaved. And players are human beings. They talk, say, "What a prat!" He was like, "What this and that and that and that," and then it shows itself on the field. Because they're not going to do what he wants them to do. No, and that, it's his form. There was an amazing. I know people use statistics foolishly in soccer a lot of the time, and I'm not sure about this one, but it was interesting. There's the stat for last weekend. There's a stat now that measures the number of times players sprint in your team. They came bottom of the table, way below everyone else. Now they were chasing the game at West Ham because they were always behind from about 10 minutes into the game, but this was indicative of, if you like, not wanting to really sprint, not to work as hard as they needed to get back in the game, which is just an indicator maybe that they're not doing their stuff. The other thing I want to put to you, John, is, and Frank de Boer was on the Monday Night Soccer instead of your friend Gary Neville, and de Boer is a very experienced man, and he said that he thought Mourinho and his way of playing was out of style now, and he made the point, Mourinho has always, at Inter, at Madrid, at Chelsea, 4 really good attacking players and 6 very good defensive players. That's the way he sees the game. You keep it tight, you block it up at the back, you don't give cheap goals away, and the 4 guys or set pieces will do their stuff and get a goal, the goals that you need to win the game. He said that's not the way the game is played anymore. It's too rigid. You're shaking your head. No, I don't believe any of it.
Right.
None of it. I don't
Right.
believe anything what the board has said. I think it's nonsense, Eamon, to be
Right.
quite honest. Mourinho's been a great manager for the basics. Defend well
Yes.
when you haven't got the ball. Everybody defend well. And attack well when you have the ball.
Yes.
I think it's a myth that he's a defensive manager.
Right.
Right. I think he defends well.
Yes.
Right. And you see, you've got some of the teams over there, say Arsenal, for example, anytime anybody attacked, not just
Yeah.
Arsenal, it was a goal scored.
Yeah.
Right. So therefore, they weren't
Yes.
defending for very long.
Sure.
Now, in Chelsea's
Liverpool
case,
last year.
yeah, they weren't defending very well.
Yeah.
Now, in Mourinho's case, when the teams attacked,
Yeah.
they didn't score. So they were defending longer
Yeah.
than the other teams.
Okay.
Right. Now, I think his principle, I think he's been a great manager, Eamon, in his approach to the game. Even what he's looking for now. When you haven't got the ball, everybody works. And when you have it, like if you go back on Chelsea, talk about him being a defence, Chelsea scored as many goals as anybody else.
Yes.
I mean, that's the ultimate thing. If he's defensive manager, you say, well, they scored half the, they won well defensively but they only scored half the goals of Manchester United.
Yeah.
They scored as many goals. And I really believe in what he believes in the way his game is played. I think he's brilliant. Everybody defend, and when you have it, you go and attack. It doesn't stop him attacking.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. I think at Manchester United, he doesn't have the players to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the big thing. But I think his philosophy, I think, you go back to the stats about sprinting and all that. Like, I'm not a great believer in stats. I don't think you are either. But once you see a team playing, and the morale is not good,
Yeah.
of course they're not going to sprint.
No.
That's how the morale suffers. Because that's what they don't do.
Yeah.
So the stats. I mean, I've seen stats before. Over the years. But anyway,
some stats are good. Some aren't.
but I think he's
goals is pretty good stat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's had those stats. Do you know what I mean? If you go back what he did at Chelsea, what he did at Inter Milan, different clubs, these were things that he believed in.
Porto.
Porto.
Porto were never a big club. They won the Champions League.
Yeah, but he hasn't suddenly become a bad manager. What he does is, I think he handles certain situations badly. And the situation with Pogba, where he had Hazard and all, once there's a bit of an upset and the things are not going his way, then he can't do it quietly because he thinks that I'm going to be blamed for that. He can't take any blame. Okay. So he's an immature guy in that way. But when he's doing his philosophy on the game, I think is brilliant. I mean, we talk about Guardiola and we talk about not defending well now. Mourinho never had that.
Oh, no.
Mourinho always, but he always had attacking players. I mean, like Lampard was playing, a lot of Drogba. They scored as many goals, and they were brilliant. I think his attitude and his approach to the game. But now I think what might have happened in that he's becoming old-fashioned is that players can't take it now. Like if you take Pogba's case, Pogba is in a real power battle.
Yeah.
With imagine him trying to do that with Ferguson years ago. You have to, I think, treat the players differently now. And Mourinho's, no, this is what I believe in, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put him down, and I put him down, and then he's going to start playing. Now we put Pogba down, but Pogba's put him down.
Yeah.
It's a battle now between the two of them.
Are you saying then that the modern day player is so wealthy, has his agent there watching his back and keeping his options open? The way the transfer thing works now, you can be out of there. So the power there's been a power shift dramatically
in a big
away
way
from the coach or the manager.
Yeah, in a big way, Eamon. Because I mean, if you go back to with Ferguson, even in Ferguson's time, there was only one boss.
Yeah,
right. The players had agents now, but the agents now have become a major part of the game.
Yes.
I mean, there's no doubt that Pogba's agent is behind Pogba's.
Raiola is his name. He's a shifty gent.
We better be careful what we say.
Well, no, I mean, it doesn't mean he does anything wrong, but he just has a shifty air about him.
But they have too much influence, Eamon, and they influence the players. I mean, a long time since I played, but the manager was king.
Yeah,
you didn't go against the manager in any way. Well, you didn't have an agent, didn't have anything. You were told to do something, you did it. You might have a say in a team talk, but the manager was the manager. Now, like you can see in Pogba's case, the perfect example. He's on Twitter, he's on all the various things. This wasn't there years ago. This is a big factor nowadays.
And he's sold, since he signed for Manchester United, they've sold $200 million worth of Pogba shirts. So if it becomes a question of who has to go and who has to stay, you imagine that the powers that be at Old Trafford, i.e. Ed Woodward and whoever else, the Glazer family, will say, well, how many Mourinho shirts are we selling?
But this is where Mourinho slips up, Eamon, you see, because he has to hit out. Now, during the close season, Woodward took the stick. He
Yeah.
didn't get the players I wanted. It's
Yeah.
not my fault, although he spent millions. It's never his fault. Woodward didn't do this, didn't do that, and the other. So he's made an enemy of Woodward.
Yeah.
Right now you go to Pogba, and it's a different situation, and he's humiliated him in certain ways. So he's made two enemies, and this is a trio.
Yes.
Right. I think Mourinho has no chance.
Right.
If Pogba's going to back anybody, he's going to back Woodward. If Woodward's going to back anybody, he's going to back Pogba. So I think Mourinho is on the outs.
Okay.
In that particular way.
They play Valencia tonight, John, at home. Valencia are doing very poorly in the Spanish league, so maybe they'll get some relief there. Rui Faria was his right-hand man for 17 years, and he left in the summer and is looking for a job elsewhere. So maybe there may be significance in that as well. But